right? So he hasn't played 1,000 games. He's played 120 days, you know?
Equally disgusting.
Equally disgusting.
This hero's powerful this patch. I will say this. If you know how to use it, you know how to abuse his timings. I think this hero 100% has a place in the meta. I think he has some really cool builds you can do. You can go like some aura builds, drums type stuff. You can go fast Orchid and what's the base?
Oh boy, that tanky Tide Hunter. Entity have now gotten first blood in all 3 games.
No. It was Gaming Gladiators got it the first 2.
Oh, you're right. Oh, okay.
They strike back.
Entity, there you go. They're like, okay. We've
had
been
enough
feeding
of your
away first
shenanigans.
bloods. This time around, we're going to 5-stack on the high ground.
I mean, that is a good way to prevent it. Go as 5. You have a high chance of getting it back. And it goes on Sand King, which there's an offlaner that can use an early lane boost. It's definitely this hero.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I would really like to see this Orchid build on Visage this game. I think it could give them an extremely good time with the syncing up with the TA, Deso, Dragonlance, whatever you want to go, into just taking over the map. Even the Ags later on, like this hero can be terrifying for supports. It can be terrifying for this Ember for a long period. So it's something to think about. Even Bloodthorns at a certain point way later. On the flip side, I'm assuming Ace is going to go like some version of this Ags build, which usually goes on this hero. And similar to last game, I feel like Duracio's job is get on these supports, get on the back line. Don't just man fight this TA. Look for the daggers and the gushes and delete the supports from the fight. So, tri-lane action.
Yes, tri-lane on tri-lane action. They actually put the Phantom Assassin down here. Initial thoughts?
I mean, Bane, Skywrath, and a TA. It's like 3, 2.5, whatever you want to call it, ranged heroes. Usually it's hard to aggro into full ranged tri-lanes.
Yeah.
And I don't think like this Grim Weaver are as strong as the Sky Bane on the early levels. TA can be susceptible in these 3-on-3s. One of the biggest downsides is their XP gets sapped a lot, right? And this is a hero that wants to get a huge amount of early levels because that's what ultimately gives her that huge acceleration in the jungle.
Okay.
So that is the upside of tri-laning this hero. And I think conceptually it can make a lot of sense. PA is pretty decent in these tri-lanes as well just because she offers that initial slow, the jump. She benefits from, like we see here, the early stick. And I think Tide can do fine in most one-on-ones. So it's an interesting laning setup. I think it's cool from Gaming Gladiators. It's just going to come down to execution, like how do they play this tri-lane? I mean, honestly, that's 90% of tri-lanes. Like, we can sit here and theorize, oh, which 3 heroes are better. But I feel like 90% of tri-lanes are decided from gameplay.
Particularly in meta where aggro tri-lanes are not the norm.
Yes.
Like, we see them, but they're not run every single game. So some teams will have more practice with them than others.
Exactly. And it's really easy to forget some of these super basic concepts of, like, where do you want the creep equilibrium to be, and how do you get it there? Do you go and block behind the tier 1? Are you playing for the pull? Do you block your own wave? Do you burn regen immediately? Do you pull aggro and try and get the lane back? Do you harass him under tower? Like, these are all little things that can make a huge difference in the overall trajectory of the lane. So if you're out of practice, sometimes it can bite you.
We did briefly look at the Sand King versus Tidehunter. That's mostly just going to be a farming matchup, not expecting too much. All the action is very likely going to be coming down from this bottom lane. Where, okay, so you talk about all those little things. Can you give me the basics of how Gaming Gladiators should play? Because they're the ones starting the aggro tri-lane. So surely they're the ones who are like, we've got a better concept of like how to play tri-lanes and such.
I mean, generally, I feel like they should have done something to get this equilibrium back immediately and as fast as possible. Either go and block the enemy wave, pull aggro, and force the TA to take it under the tower. These are the 2 easiest ways to do it. And instead, they're kind of getting caught on these like side engagements, which if they get the kill out of it, could be worth.
Tofu doesn't turn around and go for it. There was the fairy
fire.
fire
getting gone on the backside.
Yeah. Crystallis, he's going to be pushed out of the lane, and Tofu did get the opportunity to be able to heal back up, so he's kind of looking at that Skywrath mage, who does have a salve in his back pocket, and he's going to take it now.
Like, generally, where the creeps are and who gets pulls off is what's going to win you tri-lanes over time.
Okay.
These skirmishes are cool. They look fancy. There's not even a first blood to get. Generally, they don't matter too much because you're just going to come back full, and you're going to start swaying the lane in your favor because you get more resources. Sometimes they don't even help you that much, but we see like Gladiators, they refuse to give up this small camp, which I think is good. And they're constantly trying to fight for this large camp, which they finally get a spawn of. And slowly this creep algorithm has been in Doracio's favor a little, but even after all is said and done, it's still in front of Crystallis' tower, which he has to be pretty happy about.
Yeah.
Even though his CS is suffering because he got dragged in that engagement, and Doracio already has his ring of health, so his tri-lane is definitely going in Gladiator's favor.
Nice snipe there on the range creep. But yeah, I mean, those trade wars are just going to be really nice. We see Toby has been suffering at the hands of Ace, and him just constantly sitting in the middle of the creep wave, anchor smashing Toby the entire time. So he's going to try and do the extra efficient thing and pull creeps into the easy camp.
We'll see it go here. This is the Ink Swell on the bug. See you later, 0 armor. -8, whatever it is at the end there.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. Fishman, he'll also cop a bit of damage, so this aggro tri lane is beginning to really pull ahead now. They're already ahead in CS. Now they're able to like really threaten some of these heroes with the PA getting involved with the Inkswell.
I mean, now this tri lane is a problem for Entity, in my opinion. Like, this Inkswell jump with the bug, there's not much you can do to defend against it.
Nice Nightmare save.
That's one way.
They managed to dodge the stun of the Inkswell, so a healthy bit of damage missed out on. Does Entity need to do something? Like, do they bring Sand King down here and try and go for a kill and then swap lanes? Or, like, you're okay with them still sticking it out?
I mean, it's rough because this Tide, there's not really a move to make on this Tide top. He's just too tanky. Sand King's not going to give you enough damage with one, maybe even both supports. The second you leave TA down here, she's also insta-getting jumped. And then it's going to force something to happen. Like, you need pulls for her, which they can't get. You need some support down here to either tank the go or sleeper on the save.
What about the opposite, though? What about Sand King coming down to this lane first and, like, trying to get some sort of kill?
It's an option, but he's a Sand King, right? He can maybe walk in and burrow strike somebody, but it's not guaranteed. And let's say he doesn't get the PA, I feel like he feels bad at that point. Because this TA cannot go top, so then she just goes jungle and you have a free lane for Ace. I think the one move is maybe this mid where Skywrath can slow and silence this Ember into a kill with the birds, but he's pretty full HP, so just not enough chip to open up that opportunity.
Stormer is going to put some pressure in, at least, even if it's not rotating out of lane. He's got a Siege Wagon, he's got his familiars, so his tower is going to take a lot of damage.
And this is really good. Like, this is Entity's pressure point in this early game, this Visage. Whether he chooses to take mid, which, I mean, he's just taking it here. So he's basically saying, like, hey, bring your supports here, I'm going to take your tower. And Gladiators do not want to do that, so the tower's just dead.
Wow.
That's the power of Visage if you don't have a way to deal with birds. Though that said, I think Boom had an unfortunate timing with having to go to base because that catapult's up.
Yeah, it is unfortunate.
And he is going this Orchid Rush on Visage, so I think this is the best build from this game. I think it's going to exert a huge amount of pressure on this map, especially with the fact that his Sand King is going to be gigantic. Because Sand King in these farm trade scenarios, he'll out-farm most heroes. He's kind of like Axe. Like, you do these lane pull shenanigans, you get the pulls, you get the stacks, you get the neutral creeps, you get all of that. You're super happy about it. This hero thrives with levels, even as a early Vanguard.
Yeah, the first 3 levels, Ace was pretty happy, but as you say, the Sand King is eventually going to start out-trading you, out-efficiencying you by being able to pull creeps into the neutral camps. And you're trying to use this combo of the Weaver, and they take off the Nightmare, making sure the Inkswell lands, and Boom will join in to make sure they do get the kill. Tofu snags it in the end.
So this PA independent bottom, they kind of leave her and go on this roaming plane with their Ember. Visage picks up a DD top. He can do the same type of thing, though. He's pretty strong. It's hard for him to interact with this Tide Hunter super early, but he is somewhat susceptible. And kind of a similar story from last game, I feel like. Crystal is forced into the jungle super early. It's going to be a slow uphill battle for him. TA is one of the better heroes at doing this, but it's definitely going to hurt them in the long run. That said, most of this game is about Sand King and Visage and what they get done together with this huge early lead.
Do you think this is, okay, here comes the Visage with that double damage.
This DD helps a lot in this type of go.
It really does. That Kraken Shell can only do so much against a double damage Visage now with the Epicenter to finish things off. A very good kill for Entity as they now pull 2,000 net worth ahead of Gaimin Gladiators.
He didn't even have the soul assumption point for that, so now he does, and even that kill would have been easier. This is like one of the best value point nukes in the game, just in terms of the CD, the damage. I think it's the highest level 1 nuke in the game, maybe? I'm probably wrong on that. It's probably something weird, but
no.
For something with a 4-second cooldown, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, somebody will probably say, what, Shadow Demon?
Yeah, you know, if you get 10 poison stacks.
And that's going to be another tower down. Ace is going to try and go for the deny. Celery tries to help him, but then just the double stun of the familiars, and boom, you take the last hit. Stormer getting further and further ahead, exerting his early Visage pressure onto the map. Also means he's going to be getting that faster Orchid, which, I mean, any Spirit is going to hate this. Visage, a naturally tanky hero walking around with an Orchid.
It's rough. Like, this Visage is going to have a really good window to take over this game right here. Well, what you want to do to help him is, one, play with him, right? Like Skywrath or Bane, even the Saiyan King, help him with where he wants to go and exert pressure. Yeah. And two, plant the vision so you can maintain control over those areas. A lot of times, okay, you go somewhere, you take over control, you kill some dude, and then you leave it. You're not generating as good an advantage. So I would really want to see them like use this lead that they have, use this fast Orchid that they're going to get here soon, use it to take over the map and then keep it. Like, don't just give it back immediately.
Right, just exist in those areas.
Yes.
So, like, invading the triangle or the other jungle and getting some aggressive vision down. They're going to bring Stormer to bottom lane now, systematically. Mid, top, now bottom. Gaimin Gladiators going to move to the opposite side, though. 3-man smoke with the Ace already sitting in line. 4 heroes is far too many for Toby to be able to deal with.
It's pretty tanky, though.
He is pretty tanky. They're going to throw out the Ravage to make sure the Sand King doesn't get anything else off, and especially with the rotations, the rest of Entity intercepted. They are going to be able to get most everybody out. Celery does have a TP. He's going to go for the familiars. Going to catch him first. They're going to drop, and he does die. What about this chase from the Bane? Tried to catch Tofu. Wasn't there in time.
This TA is so low level. Oh my god. This is not the level you want to be at 11 minutes in the game with this hero, but he can catch up. That said, Boom had a really rough early game this game. Like, he got dragged into these moves, and these moves are not that good for him. Like, that type of kill, it does not do a lot for him in terms of his game flow, his item progression. So, as rough a game as TA had, I almost feel like Boom's having even a bit of a harder one. And I feel like he's the early game linchpin for their supports. And we're talking about Weaver and Grim comboing with who in this early game to get stuff done or take the engagements. It's Ember.
Yeah.
So if he's kind of stunted in terms of his impact, now he does have the levels, which count for a lot, but see Ace maybe go down again. He does have that pipe active.
Yeah, the Hood is going to be able to protect him from a significant amount. The Kraken Shell, surely it's going to come in eventually, and finally it does. He shrugs off that Fiend's Grip, but there's just too many nukes. That being said, maybe Gaimin Gladiators with the 2-man Inkswell stun are going to be able to get some kills in return. Duraccio battling it out with Toby, who's pretty damn tanky, so they're going to go for the support instead. Fishman's going to get caught by this. Self-Nightmare only buys him so much. Nice 2-man stun, though. Stormer's here as well.
He has no Orchid, though.
It's time for him to get out. He blink strikes away. Boom keeps his distance as well. So Stormer has made this rotation, but then they haven't managed to win anything off.
His birds aren't here. They're top.
Where are those familiars? They need him right now. Well, maybe they don't. Duracio's going to die. He just gets bursted down. They chose to go back in onto this Sand King. And boy, was that an ill-fated decision, as not only is Duraccio dead, but it looks like Boom is going to die as well. Double kill for Stormer without the birds.
I mean, that is the early Sand King Visage net worth from those lanes paying off there in terms of, holy cow, this Sand King is tanky. Like,
yeah.
At this point in the game, Vanguard, Bracer, Soul Ring on top of this early blink. He's just a monster, just baiting huge overextension there. No Ravage for that fight. Visage came in. He had no Orchid CD. He had no birds. Didn't even matter. They still clean it up. Now he's super far ahead, basically almost 2K off this Ags. And that's when this hero becomes a terror on the map. Like, Grim instantly dies. Weaver instantly dies. Even this Ember, I think, dies like almost 100-0 if you find him with the Orchid. You get the birds on it. You can even resummon into the quad stun if you're really feeling spicy. So this is looking pretty good for Entity right here. And again, another fight that Boom joins, and even this one, he dies. He's just super far back in terms of getting this early Maelstrom that's going to have the impact he wants.
Now, you've been talking about how basically difference between the Ember and the Visage, but there is the difference that you also talked about, which is the TA and the PA. PA is so much farther ahead in net worth, and we're going to see him jump up even farther now once he's done with this Ancient stack. So, like, do you still favor, like, the tempo controllers being ahead as we're going to watch this poor Weaver die? Or is there something to be concerned about with this PA getting this big this early?
I mean, she's big, but it's pretty hard for her to just join into fights until she has BKB later, and she's going Manta too. I feel like the thing that helps her the most going the fights is her Ember being strong, which she isn't. This Visage, I think, will just shred her. She can get gripped, she can get silenced into a Burrow Strike. Like, TA actually caught in and up on levels after that fight, and TA's job at this point is enable that Roshan after his team wins the team fight in the next 5 minutes or so, right? Like, that's his biggest job, is get this Aegis presumably on one of his other 2 cores. He might take it if he's, really feeling it, but that's going to be his biggest job here. He doesn't have to do much more than that just because of how strong the rest of his team is right now. And keep taking the fights. Like, Ace went this early pipe. That's their biggest way to keep these engagements, but...
Splitting the targets. Oh, no. Now the turnaround. The Soul Bite into the Ravage with the double silence on top of that. Boom is going to come in to clean up these 2. Double kill there, and they're going to be able to catch the Templar Assassin. What a absolute blunder there from Entity. They could have killed one or the other. They split their targets and instantly get turned around on. Oh, dear.
That was about as disastrous as it can get. I mean, also, this fight is basically without your strongest hero in Stormstormer, who's not there. You have to think about, like, if Visage is there, this Grim just insta-dies. You can maybe jump somebody else, right? Maybe you turn that fight around. Like, Crystallis is showing up to that fight, and Stormstormer isn't. It is not the ideal synergy you want. So, really good use of the Ravage. They got a huge amount of value out of it. And now trying to take advantage of it.
Toby, this body blocking. Ace is going to be able to get around it, though, eventually, especially with the phase and Inkswell.
And this is where aligning your timings as a team is insanely important and being on the same page. Because Stormstormer wants to finish his Ags. So he's probably like, oh, why are you guys fighting and throwing this game when I can just get my item and end it? They're going to find another pickoff.
They did. It was a little bit, dropped the ball there on the second Visage Bird, but didn't matter thanks to the Bane being there, so they collected that kill. Watch this one again. If they kill the Grimstroke fast enough, then this Soulbind isn't nearly as devastating.
Yes.
But
I mean, honestly, this fight is still hard just because the pipe is so strong in this type of engagement. And again, Stormstormer's not there. He's a lot of their consistent damage throughout that fight outside of that Sand King burst, which did not connect for too long on PA. But they will take advantage of the fact that this Ravage is on cooldown. Pretty hard to take this Roche fight into how strong the Sand King still is.
all right, now Stormstormer has an Aegis. Now he's got an Aghanim Scepter.
Yeah.
I have to imagine there's no fight that he is involved in. In fact, probably initiating, as with this Aghanim Scepter, he's going to be able to sneak on through here. Celery, once again, always in great position to be able to intercept smokes. Breaks the one on the Visage and then manages to slip away into the trees and TP's out. Very nicely played.
Trying to find somebody that, again, it's a bit of a low probability smoke here, just smoking into your own jungle. And even if it happens, this Weaver's going to shove out top all the way. Mid's getting shoved in all the way. Like, they feel like they have to kick them out of here, but at the same time, they're not gaining a huge amount of map control out of it, and the map is still getting traded. Yeah. So going back to that first game, how do you use this Aegis to actually build a lead, gain more advantage, and shut down this PA's acceleration? This is where you have to make really good decisions about it, because this Visage is not some crazy spirit hero where he's going to jump across the entire map or TP and be ready to join a fight instantly. He kind of wants you to play around him. He's a bit slow, and he really wants to abuse this Axe to get on the enemy side of the map, which, you know, taking the other tier 1s is great, but this is where he wants to be fighting. And he needs his team to help him set that up.
Radiant are scanning.
Man, if he can get this shard on the Visage, it's going to be so hard for Gaimin Gladiators to kill him. But he might just try and kill everybody else in the meantime. or maybe Entity don't get on the same page and don't, as you say, play around the Visage quite enough. They're going to get.
He's alone.
He's entirely alone. He's also invisible and flying here. So it's going to be very... oh, no. He just slipped right on past them. Oh, Gaimin Gladiators, they feel bad about that. And Stormer, he's still sticking around looking to see if he can find anybody just for a cheeky pick-off. Nothing presenting itself, though.
I mean, he wants to fight. I'll tell you that much. He's like,
yeah.
I'm down to go in, boys. His team is just so far.
Crystallis now has the Deso, so his farm's going to start picking up, and he's going to need it too, because he is a ways away from this Phantom Assassin. 2,000 plus net worth ahead of him.
Gladiators are just grouping up here because I feel like they think Entity's going to try and take the fight to them, so they're kind of trying to bait it, group up, abuse this Tidehunter pipe. It hasn't been happening, and now Storm's going to force the issue.
Okay, they jump on him, and they may be able to pop him real quick with Toby with a beautiful Burrow Strike. They respond with the Ravage, and it looks like the Sand King is going to be dying first. Stormer's very low on health, is going to be his first life down. At the same time, this Crystallis, he tried to get some good side blades in, but the rest of Gaimin Gladiators retreat to their high ground. Now they just have an effort to be able to keep this Visage alive. They do manage to get a Fiend's Grip as Toby tried to get in there. They trade out with Fishman, but look at Ace right in the middle of everybody with the Ink's Well 2-man stun. Very nicely set up. Boom. The Orchid fades away from him, so he managed to get a 2-man chains on top of that. Gaimin Gladiators clean up as Entity take a bad team fight. They stumble into Gaimin Gladiators, perfectly positioned on the high ground defense.
Sand King did not get Epi off. I don't even know if he got much off after that Burrow Strike, which looked decent, but that's the power of Tidehunter here. He krakens it, he gets the counter initiation. Visage was in stone form for that, but like, so what?
Yeah.
You know, he's the one with Aegis, so even him living there doesn't feel amazing.
Okay, this is a big kill. They get the silence off. Boom is definitely going to be dying here. Ace, only so much he could do for him. He popped the pipe and everything, but it was far too much damage. So Gaimin Gladiators perhaps getting a little bit over-aggressive after their recent team fight win. Watch that one again. I can't help but thinking, like, Toby, you know, he had an, as you said, he had an Aegis on Visage. Like, he could have been like, okay, this first life is forfeit, but I'm going to get a really good Epicenter Burrow Strike in. But
it's just hard. Like, this Tide's causing him a lot of problems because he's so tanky with this early pipe. Like, TA can cut through him, but if TA engages, she just gets ravaged and gone on, right? And there's no save, so it's just awkward for them to run in like that. Like, ideally, you want this Visage to be finding people on the back line, finding the Ember, finding one of the supports, starting the fight that way, and then putting this Aegis to use. Or when they commit on him, he's already killing one of your heroes.
Yeah.
Instead, he just runs into Ace. Ace is standing there like, what's up, dog? Time to take the fight.
It just does the bouncer, like, you know, the head nod. Like,
yeah, pretty much. He's the gatekeeper.
He really is. A brick wall between him and the rest of Gaimin Gladiator. Stormers trying to find a way around that one. This time around, they're going to be able to find the Grimstroke, perhaps. Celery,
he just
who did have that shard, is actually able to just walk away. Duraccio is going to pop the Manta here, a little bit timid, as nice Nightmare saying, I might have actually saved Katomi, the burnout. No, he ticks down eventually. So they still managed to get that kill despite the Nightmare dodging the dagger. Ace is going to keep pursuing here, as he does have Ravage, so. Note that Ace also went a very different build this time around. We've talked about how he really loves the Aghanim Scepter, but he went Pipe. Now he's going to Heaven's Halberd. He's doing everything he can to give his team a little bit more utility support.
And I like this build. It really helped his other two cores take these early fights, and now they're strong enough to take it to them.
He's so tanky. He's just like, what is a tier 2? They're going to catch Toby in the act of trying to get off his epicenter, and that silence will probably be the death of him.
This game is getting a little out of hand at this point. Feels like a lot of this Sand King Visage impact just did not add up to enough, and now, like, what is the answer to this Tidehunter? He just runs in. He has no cares in the world.
Yeah.
Like, anytime you have a hero that doesn't care about anything, it's really hard to team fight, because he will always force the issue, he will give the vision, he he gets to choose when he uses his spells because he can be ultra patient. That's one of the biggest things. Like, he goes in, he holds the Ravage the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Like, you choose to engage more heroes at your own peril. That's just because of how tanky he is.
Can we talk about this PA build? What's the idea of going Manta and Lincolns instead of like any damage items here? No Deso, no nothing like that.
I mean, I can see an argument where traditionally you'd probably go BKB into another item, right? Because you reverse so many stuns. But there is a grip on the backside. TA maybe arguably better versus the BKB than the Manta. So maybe Manta has a bit more value versus TA in terms of causing confusion for whatever hits or something. Like, you can dodge a meld, you can break refractions. You can also go in Manta. It's really hard for Bane and Skyrat to insta-hit you with your spells, right? Like, it can be annoying. That 1 or 2 seconds of he's trying to cast a spell on you, you Manta, he has to recast it and pick one.
Yeah.
It can create enough confusion in that moment that you just burst a hero because you're PA. So it's an interesting choice. And Lincoln's on top of that, like, even harder for him to get gripped or silenced or burrow struck in these engagements.
And Scotty on top of all of that, so just even tankier PA. It seems like he just is saying, like, as long as we survive through burst, Stormstormer going to be caught as he's trying to get some Visage around. Now, he does have at least the Stone Form, but when he comes back up, is he going to get bursted down? They try and break the Lincolns, protecting him from the Burrow Strike. Stormstormer is going to get gone on by Boom, and it looks like he's going to be cut down. They didn't need the PA for that kill, as Boom is online enough to be able to bring down the Visage. Now they've got the Bane with this Ravage. They're going to be able to catch the Templar Assassin as well, who pops the BKB, trying to get away from Dyrachyo, but Dyrachyo in pursuit might still be able to catch him. The BKB is going to wear out. They slow him down a little bit more, but the Bird Stun's going to be able to intercept. Toby caught the 2 backline heroes, though. He killed both Celery and Tofu, so a very important swing, because gaining Gladiators, the start of that fight was initially just all them. They had a clean engagement until Toby came in.
Yeah, this Visage, he kind of went from trying to find people to he's the one getting found with this gem pickup too. And if he just gets, I mean, he can sit there in his Stone Form, but is it really setting much up? And we saw, I mean, I really like how Dyrachyo is playing these fights. Like, it almost feels too easy for him too, though, just because of how strong Ace is. Like, we were talking about this build. He doesn't have to be the first one in. He can kind of pick targets. He can play it loose because this Tidehunter just goes in and gives him vision of everything. He's tanking spells. He's threatening this Ravage where there's only one BKB to counter this Ravage. It's on TA, and we've seen how hard it is for her to get in these fights. She still doesn't have a blink. She has no mobility. She's getting halberded randomly.
Yeah.
If she can't get in there and start hitting people, it does not feel like there's going to be enough damage to really do anything in these engagements.
18,000 net worth on the PA. Meanwhile, Templar Assassin, 12,000. So far behind. And you could see all that net worth difference. That's the 5K that Gaimin Gladiators is up right now. It's just the difference between the 2 carries.
Yeah, and sometimes even more so, like, the talents, right? This level 20 PA talent. Extra evasion just makes it that much harder for Visage and TA to kill her.
Yeah.
And I don't see her dying to this magic damage. With the help of the pipe, with the help of all the interrupts that come out from Grimstroke, there's almost a Weaverags, which last game we saw, like, was super high impact versus Bane Sky type support duo, where you have to commit your spells, and Weaver he just waits. He doesn't even have to show in these fights. Just chuck a bug from 1,000 units away and wait for the fight to develop. That's always a nice position to be in. So these fights are not necessarily getting that much easier. The flip side, there are some powerful items that can still come out in terms of the physical DPS.
Courier stared into the darkness, and the darkness stared right back. And, those eyes have seen some shit right there. 13-18, 7,000 net worth lead for Gaimin Gladiators. They feel very much in control of this game, and that's why they're going to think about freely doing Roshan, though that would present an opportunity. Entity have just found a double damage on the Templar Assassin. If they could catch Gaimin Gladiators while they're Roshing, I mean, surely you can't get a better team fight than that.
It's probably your best chance to fight this with the blessing of Gabe here on this double damage rune.
Toby, he blinks
your
in,
target,
trying to
so
get there
he's
as quick as
halberded.
possible. They've already popped the BKB on Boone. The Sand King is dead. He does not have buyback to be able to join this one, but the Weaver does. Immediately pops his time lapse, and he's here. Stormstormer gets caught, Soulbind into the Ravage once again with the Grimstroke already dead. Crystallis is trying to deliver some damage elsewhere, but honestly, if it's not a support, his TA damage looks pitiful against the rest. He cannot seem to do anything else. Stormstormer trying to get away, but body blocked efficiently by Tofu, allowing Dyrachyo to get the killing blow for a double kill.
Almost got that Aegis steal. It looked like it might have been possible. Maybe that's enough to turn that fight. Like, they do pick up Ember on the backside, so TA was doing a decentish amount of damage, but PA just jumps in. There's no answers. 3,000 HP hero with auras behind her. Doesn't feel like Visage can even do anything in these fights. He's going into stone form so early.
Watch this one
Looking for the
again.
contest. Weaver died instantly on the backside, which is super nice for them. But he has buyback, and this is near Dire Shine. That Dire advantage coming into play. And again, Ace can choose when he wants to Ravage, so he just holds it that whole time. Gets it to maximize his PA's damage, and
if it wasn't for the
Windows
DD
refract.
here, it looks like he was able to help do enough damage to the Ember Spirit with the Orchid. They eventually kill him. Katomi helps finish him off there, but the fact that with a DD and a Roshan engagement, you didn't even come close to winning the fight. The big bads of Ace and Dyrachyo were still very healthy, very much alive, and we're not going to be stopped fighting anytime soon. It's Toby silenced, and the magic damage is more than enough. Okay, now he's dead. The rest of his team is up, so they have to play a 4 versus 6 with the Aegis still on Dyrachyo.
just feels similar to last game, where who is stopping Dyrachyo in these fights? Nobody. And he's killing your team while TA kind of watches, and then at some point, TA and Visage are the ones left. Like, you don't have enough to stand up to the tank ability. The anchor smash reduction, honestly, super good versus these cores as well.
True, yeah.
They just don't have easy ways to deal with Tidehunter, and it's creating a huge amount of problem for them.
Now, the panel was really big on Faceless Void, I think, as the last pick instead of the Templar Assassin.
Yeah. I think it gives them a more direct way to take the engagements by just dealing with Ace a bit better. At the same time, though, it's definitely slower. And going back to that early trialing, like the laning decision by Gladiators, definitely paid off in this game, because it felt like that game too, where this TA, Crystallis goes to jungle at level 3 or 4. Like,
Yeah.
it really hurt him this game, because their lineup is super based around when this Visage is strong, he wants his TA to join him, wants him to get that early Roshan, join the fight around the traps on the enemy side of the map. But if this TA is super far behind, all that gets delayed, and it gets delayed to a point where Tide has a pipe, Dyrachyo has his second item, and now that fight where they go into the Dire outpost up that hill, and Ace the bouncer's there waiting to throw them out of the club. Doesn't end well.
No, it doesn't. Do you think some of this was because we noticed a difference, like game 1 to game 2 and game 3, they really put an effort to be able to shut down Crystallis. Do you think something about that game 1 gave them that idea of like, okay, how do we beat this team? Like, just making sure their carry doesn't actually get early farm is pretty key. Do you think that's a drafting thing, or do you think that's an entity thing?
I think it's like a general thing in Dota. Like, you should always think about these little lane shenanigans. You should always think about tri-laning, dodging, where you send your supports. It's just, it will win you games. But sometimes it does take a game 1 to be like, you know, hey, I'm not, that game 1, I just ran into this lane and this Razor had a pretty decent start. I don't even think that lane went that well for them game 1, but theoretically maybe they're like, it reminds them, you know, hey, maybe we don't have to just send this Tide against the TA lane and give TA as good a start as we can tri-lane her.
Sure, yeah.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Well, Gaimin Gladiators look to deliver the final blow here. And that final blow is coming in with some heavy hitting Dyrachyo. 1300 crit. Looks to deliver another one to Toby. Doesn't need it. All right, 2 dead. And back to the lane of Barracks now. They are going to chase after Vistage.
Who do you want to go on?
The creep wave. They are going to be able to get this initiation. The Grimstroke's already dead,
All
but
right.
Stormstormer is stuck here. When he comes out of stone form, the Ravage is going to be able to catch the rest of the team while Gaimin Gladiators focus down Stormstormer. He buys back next, but Ace
He's out of mana.
He is out of mana.
There's something for you.
Okay, but he's just operating as a brick wall. He's like, go ahead, hit me. I dare you. He has enough to be able to throw out a gush now, and that is enough to be able to get that kill. Duraccio, well, he brings down Crystallis pretty quickly, and that's it. GG is called, and Entity taking game 1, but again, not able to close out the series. You got to feel for them at this point because